What's up, man? Welcome to the Northern California Man Cave Podcast out here in the 209. I'm Chris. This is my nephew, Junior. We got a ton of things to talk about in the world of sports right now. We're going to talk NBA playoffs. We're going to talk Major League Baseball. We'll probably have NFL football and also a little UFC and a little bit of WWE payback from last night. Going to go ahead and start off by talking about the NBA playoffs. There were 3 games yesterday on the schedule. First game we're going to talk about, number 2 seed LA Clippers against the 7 seed Dallas Mavericks. It was game 6 with the Clippers being up 3-2 with a chance to close it out. They go ahead and win the game. It was 111-97. This series basically boils down to one thing. The Clippers just have a lot. They have a little bit too much with Kawhi. You know, you have Paul George. You got a good supporting cast. Dallas, what's your thoughts on how Dallas played this series and, you know, overall their play and what went wrong for them?
I definitely believe that Dallas is going to be a team of the future. You know, they played great against a very good Clippers team. Luka just played lights out, and obviously they had the injury to Porzingis, which played a huge factor in this series. But overall, I feel like Dallas fans, they got a lot to keep their head up. They got to be happy about what's going to happen in the future. You know, overall, they played great in this series.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that too. I think definitely this series would have gone 7 had Porzingis been healthy the whole time. I mean, because most of the games were close. It seems like there was a pattern in these games where Clippers would get off to a good start and Dallas would always fight back behind Luka. And they made a hell of a series out of it. Unfortunately, they just ran out of gas at the end. And my hat's off to the Clippers. You know, Kawhi Leonard, basically well over 20 points each game, shot efficiently, and they were just a better team overall.
Yeah, definitely. All right, with that being said, we're going to move on to the next game. Denver versus Utah. Denver comes on top, 119-107, forced game 7, and you just had a tremendous game from Jamal Murray. Played lights out, dropped 50 points, and it's definitely anybody's series now, man. Denver being down 3-1, I thought this was a wrap. What's your take on that, Chris?
Yeah, you know, Denver was basically left for dead at 3-1, and Jamal Murray just came alive and, you know, carried them through this series to force a game 7. It's been magical to watch him against Donovan Mitchell. This is the second time in the series these guys have combined for at least 90 points. I mean, it's unbelievable to have 2 guys in the same series scoring at that kind of a clip, 50 points. You know, it's just crazy, and I look forward to see who comes out on top in Game 7. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the last game that was played yesterday. And this was a Game 1, the first game in the conference semifinals, and this was in the Eastern Conference. It was Boston Celtics taking on Toronto. Honestly, coming in the series, Toronto was the world champs. I was on their bandwagon, and I thought, you know, they would come out in Game 1 and play really well and dominate the game. But unfortunately, the Celtics had other ideas. Junior, what do you think about the Celtics' performance yesterday? They basically blew them off the court by 20. What are your thoughts on the Celtics, and what do you think they'll do in the...
Yeah, definitely. The outcome was never in doubt. You know, they just played great basketball yesterday. Jason Tatum, obviously, he performed. I mean, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Then you had Marcus Smart, 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. I mean, this team's got a lot of depth, and I feel like this game, Toronto underestimated them, and the Celtics got the better end of the stick that night. Man, they came to play.
Okay, so going forward, Junior, in this series, who do you have winning this series? Do you think this spells bad news for the defending champs, Toronto, or do you think they could bounce back and it was just one game? What's your thoughts on them coming back to the series?
I think it was just a bad game. I feel like they underestimated the Celtics, and I feel like they're going to come out a lot stronger. They're going to play a lot better basketball, and I feel like this is going to be a fun series to watch, man. I just don't see it ending. It's not over. I feel like there's going to be, you know, Toronto's going to play. They're going to be good.
I agree. I think Toronto's not the defending world champions for nothing. I mean, they have a lot of scrappy players. Marc Gasol, they have Siakam, they have Kyle Lowry, they got Van Vliet. I mean, I think this has a long series written all over it. I think this is just the beginning. But we'll find out moving forward. With that being said, we want to go ahead and preview today's NBA playoff games. We have, let me see what we have going on the schedule today. We have the Miami Heat and Milwaukee Bucks. Game one of that Eastern Conference semifinal. This series is definitely going to be a tight series. Everybody's on Milwaukee thinking they're just going to breeze to the NBA Finals. But what you don't understand is Miami Heat match up really well with Milwaukee. They got Jimmy Butler. He's a fiery player. He gets players motivated. And I really think that this is going to be also a long series. I look forward to this series because in the regular season, Miami was the only team to beat Milwaukee more than one time. So what are your thoughts on this series, and what does Miami have to do to win the series?
Oh yeah, definitely super pumped to watch this series. You know, I definitely like Jimmy Butler and Giannis. It's definitely going to be a fun series. I still say Milwaukee's going to win the series, but it's going to be definitely interesting to see. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like Jimmy Butler's going to play good, and I just, it's a toss-up because, like you said, they're the only team to beat Milwaukee more than once this year. What about you?
I think the key for them, they're going to have to play great defense like they played against them all regular season long. The only way I could see this series not going long is if Jimmy Butler were to get hurt or not play to his potential, but I think it has 6 or 7 written all over it. And then with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to Game 6, Houston Rockets and Thunder. Right now, the Rockets lead the series 3-2. I'm not really sold on the Rockets. They've always seemed to choke in the playoffs. I don't have nothing against the Rockets, and I don't have nothing against James Harden, but I want to talk about James Harden for a little bit. He is by far one of the fucking worst players to watch in the NBA play. I mean, every play, it's the same stuff. He dribbles through his legs about 20 times, jacks up a 3 without passing to one damn teammate, or he drives the lane, jumps shoulder first into some guy, throws his hands up in the air, and yells for a fucking foul. James, nobody wants to see you shoot 20 free throws a game. It's boring. You shoot a low field goal percentage. I can't take away the type of player you are. Yes, you're a great scorer. You score a lot of points, but that's boring fucking basketball. To illustrate my point, I'll tell you what I did. I went around to all my neighbors. I knocked on all their fucking doors. I said, look, I'm going to be out here in my backyard at 2 p.m. I'm going to shoot free throws for about 2 hours straight. I said, look, you guys give me $20. I'll set up a seat in my fucking backyard. I'll even put an ice chest out there. I'll fill it with beer. $10 a beer. You sit out there for 2 hours. Watch me shoot free throws. And you know what kind of response I got? Go fuck yourself. Get the fuck out of here, you fucking moron. I'm not paying you to watch you shoot free throws, you fucking idiot. And that's the way I feel about James Harden. I wouldn't pay to watch this fucking guy shoot free throws. It's fucking bullshit. No one wants to see no one shoot free throws. I mean, you're a great scorer, but not much else. And you got that fucking matador defense where somebody just breezes by you like you're fucking glued to the ground. You're garbage to watch, and I hope you go on to lose this series so I don't have to watch you play anymore.
Exactly, man. I'm on the same freaking boat. He is terrible to watch, and I'm pissed. If they're such a great team, why haven't you closed this series out with the Oklahoma City Thunder? They're going into this year, they had a 2.5% to make the playoffs. They shouldn't be the playoffs. You should have took care of them. And you know what? I don't respect your gameplay, James.
And one other thing I forgot about James Harden. When you shoot, do you have to fucking jump 20 feet forward and kick your fucking legs out? That should be an offensive foul. Who the hell does that? I mean, come on, man. I mean, you shouldn't have to do that.
And what lost me respect from James Harden, yeah, it's a couple years old. Game 7, Western Conference Finals, playing against the Warriors. You're not making your fucking threes, and you guys jack up more threes. And when you could have been driving in the basket, you could have scored, you could have got back in the game, and you could have beat the Warriors. You could have beat the Warriors, and you pissed down your leg once again.
Yeah, he's just never been a clutch player, in my opinion. I mean, the only reason I like watching the Houston Rockets play right now is Russell Westbrook's coming back. he's a lot better to watch. His athleticism, is a lot better. And he could drive to the basket without throwing his hands up in the air, yelling for a fucking foul. I mean, and he's more of a money player. So that's the only silver lining I can see, getting to watch Russell Westbrook play. But with that, we want to go ahead and move on to Major League Baseball. We want to go ahead and give major props right now to the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants. Coming into the season, the Giants, they weren't really slated to do much. And, they started off slow. But as soon as Joey Bart got called up, this team's been on fire. They've won 8 out of the past 10 games. And they're only a couple of games out of the playoffs. And with this new format, moving forward, they can really do some damage. All they have to do is get in.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to talk also a little bit about the Oakland A's. I mean, they're 22-12. They've had a great start to the season. It's been one of their best starts of franchise history. Sometimes with the A's, they make the playoffs and they don't get super far. But with that being said, this year, Junior, what do you think of the A's' chances when they do get to the playoffs? Do you think they can make a long run? Where do they fit in? Do you think, it's them, Yankees, Astros? Who do you think the best team is now?
I'm thinking right now, A's are the best team in baseball right now. I don't care what nobody else says. If I'm in the AL, American League right now, I'm afraid to play the Oakland A's. I don't want to play them. They're going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs, and I feel like this is finally going to be the year where Oakland A's get to see their team make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, I definitely believe so. I mean, because Houston, they've obviously taken a step back this year. They haven't played up to their standards. With that, being said, they're only a couple games out of the division. But, the Yankees, they're Jekyll and Hyde. They get a lot of injuries. I do think the A's are the team to beat right now. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the National League. We want to talk a little bit about the Dodgers. I mean, every year I see a pattern with this fucking team. They get off to these great starts, and once again, they come out with a great start. I mean, they score a ton of runs. They got pitching. They got everything it takes to win. They have 24 wins already. But, with this fucking team, it's the same shit. Every year you get to the playoffs, and you make a deep run sometimes, but you can't close a fucking deal, you fucks. How about winning a fucking World Series? I don't give a shit if you win over 100 games every fucking year. What good does it do you if you don't have a fucking ring? What are your thoughts on that, Junior?
Yes, and I'm sick and tired of Dodger fans bitching and moaning about the cheating scandal with the Astros. You could tell any fuck that I'm going to throw a fastball or a curveball or have a buzzer going off, but at the end of the day, you still got to hit the ball. At the end of the day, Altuve was a great fucking player. He knew what the fuck to do. He was a great fucking player. He hits home runs. He's a good hitter. I remember back in the day he was still fucking good. And you guys need to shut the fuck up about it and stop bitching and moaning and stop throwing pitches at that. That's not fucking baseball. That's being a little salty little bitch about it.
Yeah, it's sour grapes because you couldn't fucking get it done. That's what it is. Unless the Astros are up there with a fucking big-ass wiffle bat and a corked bat, and then they're hitting all those home runs. It's not fucking cheating. I don't give a shit. Half the time, the batters guess the pitch before it's thrown anyway. They know what the pitcher's tendencies are, so they're not going to know what the fucking pitch is anyway. So don't give me that fucking bullshit. And right now, we want to go ahead and move on and review WWE Payback 2020. This week, this event only had a week to build up, so there wasn't really a lot to build up for the show because it was a week after SummerSlam. I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast how we wanted to see Roman Reigns versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, versus Braun Strowman in a triple threat match, and that's exactly what we got. I thought it was going to take a little while for them to build to that match, but they didn't. They decided to have it right now. Going into SmackDown this week, they were going to have a contract signing, and it was crazy. The Fiend and Braun Strowman both signed the contract, and then Roman Reigns, he never actually signed it. And then as SmackDown went off the air, Roman Reigns went ahead and turned heel and aligned himself with that fat fuck Paul Heyman. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think it's a good idea to have Roman Reigns, be a heel. And some of his promos are not the greatest, so I could see why they aligned him with it. It just seems a little weird to me, but overall, that was, the match of the night. It was a big brawl. The only downside, I would say, they didn't have Roman Reigns come out right away and start the match out. I think that was a big negative. They didn't have him come out too close to the end of the match. And, once he came out, he was only out there 5 minutes and he won the match to become the new WWE Universal Champion. What were your thoughts on this match, Junior? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are your thoughts?
I was very disappointed in this match. I really wanted to see bodies thrown, tables being broke. I mean, don't get me wrong. We saw that, but I feel like if you had Roman Reigns early on in the match, you could have done so much more, and it was predictable. I knew once they were going to get on the top, they were going to break the ring. Predictable. Because the last pay-per-view, they had those sturdy pulls, and now this time, they had those little bitch-ass pulls. So, it was predictable. I didn't care for the match. I like to see a rematch. I want to see something better.
Yeah, I agree. And my nephew definitely called it. We were watching the event live, and right as it was, happening before, when they climbed up on the rope, he said, they're going to break the ring. And I was like, really? But yeah, he called it, and I mean, we've seen that so many times. It's not original. It wasn't spontaneous. It's not something that hasn't happened in the ring before. They should have done something new. It's been there, done that, and I was disappointed as the headliner match too.
And it ain't the first time that Strowman's broke a ring. I mean, it's not the first time. Won't be the last. I'm sick of it. Vince McMahon needs to write up some better freaking matches. I mean, you have this match so hyped, and it was shitty. It was just shitty from start to finish, right?
Yeah, I mean, bringing him in late, that didn't help the match at all.
And then, as the Fiend was making his entrance, they fucked up. I saw Braun Strowman already in the ring, because the lights went on, doing that flash and shit, and I saw Strowman in the ring, and I said, oh, he's going to attack his ass. Dick.
So, I'm not going to go over the whole card, but we started with the main event. I just want to go over a couple other things we saw on the show. Big E against Sheamus. I'm really happy that WWE's finally giving this guy a push as a singles wrestler. Don't get me wrong. When New Day first came out, I wasn't necessarily a fan of theirs. But as they came on and they had great matches with Usos and different teams, they really carried the tag team division for the better part of a few years. And I really like the New Day still. But I just think all individually, they're very talented wrestlers, and they all deserve really good singles runs, and they all just deserve to wear the World Championship one day. Kofi already has. Hopefully Big E will someday also get the World Heavyweight Championship. And, when Xavier Woods comes back, hopefully he can, because they're all great individual wrestlers, and they're even better as a team. But, his match with Sheamus was hard-hitting, and it just shows you he has so much athleticism and talent, and he's a good talker. I just think he's going to rock it up after this match, and he's going to move up the card slowly but surely.
And another match we want to go over, Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. I thought that was a great match. Keith Lee got the victory, and it's very impressive to get your debut match on the Raw roster against Randy Orton. That doesn't happen a whole lot. What's your thought on this match?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, for a debut match, him fighting a legend like Randy Orton, I mean, numerous championships Orton's had, but he beat him in under 7 minutes, and that's very impressive. I mean, he's another guy that I think the sky is definitely the limit for this guy. He can win any championship on the roster. He's that good. He's that athletic, and I just want to see what kind of feuds he's going to have going forward, because he is a big, athletic guy, and he's a monster.
Yeah. And definitely now, next match, we're going to talk about Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio versus Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins. Good match. Dominic Mysterio got the 619, did pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace, did a frog splash. Great match overall. I mean, it was good for those two, and definitely at the end of the match, you saw Seth Rollins walk out on Buddy Murphy after the match. They lost. So I feel like Seth Rollins is going to turn on Buddy Murphy, and then what do you think? What do you think about that, Chris?
I think, honestly, Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins, that would be a pretty good feud. Buddy Murphy has a ton of talent, too. They're both high flyers. They both have innovative type moves. I would love to see that feud and see where it can go. And, Scott, and I want to transition and talk a little bit, too, about the tag team title match. It was Bayley and Sasha Banks defending their tag team belts against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Now, I'll be honest. If Shayna and Nia Jax are on the same page, which they were yesterday, they came out victorious. They won the women's tag team belts. That is a monster women's tag team. They could be unbeatable. I mean, there is nobody on that roster that could stand up to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler.
No.
They are they are awesome to watch. They're powerful. They're strong. They're hard-hitting. And, hell, I wouldn't want to get in the ring with either one of them.
No, definitely. I mean,
they beat the fuck out of me within 30 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what they did last night. They made them tap out, and it was a great match overall. And I'm looking forward to the future, seeing what this tag team holds.
Last thing I want to talk about, we want to go a little bit over UFC. Over the weekend, they had an event. It was UFC Fight Night. The main event had Troy Smith fighting. He was one of my favorite fighters. He fought John Jones. He did lose, but he was an up-and-coming fighter, and he was actually upset by a guy I never even heard of. It was crazy. So I was disappointed in that. And then also the co-main event, which saw Robbie Lawler against Neil Magny. I thought this match was going to be a brawl. I thought Lawler would be able to win, but actually Neil Magny dominated him and basically beat him up for the whole fight. Robbie Lawler did not win one round. I'm going to send this out to Robbie Lawler. I think you're done. I mean, you've had a great career. You were you have legendary fights, obviously, with McDonald. You've had great brawls, but I just think those brawls have caught up to you, and I think you should go ahead and retire. It's no shame in retiring. Had a great career. You were the champ at one point. I mean, after getting beat by Neil Magny, you were dominated, and I just think you need to move on. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our podcast for this week. We'll definitely be doing more podcasts moving forward. Obviously, there was a lot of social justice issues that happened this week that we weren't able to do any podcasts, but we'll do more in the future. And with that, we're going to wrap it up, and we'll talk to you on episode 4. Thanks for joining us. For Chris, I'm Junior. For the Man Cave Podcast, we'll see you next time.